Yes, y'all. Welcome back to episode 190 of the Dumb Marks podcast, the Juggernaut. It's your boys, your favorite Saturday brunch bunch, back at it again, talking everything that was the week in pro wrestling with our Mount Rushmores and Jabronis of the week. I'm sorry, Mount Rushmores and Mushes of the week. Don't want that C&D to come over from Dwayne The Rock Johnson there. Dynamic duo, the original OGs, back in effect today. Starting off the month of Juneteenth, right? I guess as people. So
feels like old times, doesn't it?
that's right. Back at it again. The Tons of Fun edition is here in effect. Donald and Jason
logo back.
Yeah, we should have. Yeah, we should have went old school. Should have did the throwback with the old logo today. Keep people guessing on their toes. No, Donald and Jason are off handling some family stuff. So they'll be out doing that. I had a I had a hell of a week myself when it comes to that regard. And yeah, coming off the Memorial Day weekend, always fun when you got to fit 5 days of work in 4. So as much as you may enjoy the holiday itself, it just makes the rest of the week crazy insane. So
for me, it's end of month for sales, so it's like I have to
miss
the next day. So it's like
gotta get them numbers. Gotta get them numbers up, man. When you're in a sales position, when you have what up, Mars? Down in the den in the building. What's going on? Yeah, when you're working sales, man, the months with holidays, because you got that 20-day range for a working month anyways, right? Mm-hmm. But then when you factor in the holidays and you start counting off the list, and you're like, all right, I got to hit these numbers by X, or else, some things may not be coming in that normally come in.
That's how for me, when month end ends on a Friday, that's my favorite though. Yeah, just like because I hate like when month end is like Monday and like you're working to get everything done for month end, and it's just like I still got 4 fucking days left this week. So Friday, and now I'm good. Refresh, start over again on Monday.
Mondays are the worst to begin with. Obviously, it's just the worst working day of the week, right? But the first of the month Monday, yeah, that's trash. And depending on what industry you're in, it makes it even worse. Taquan, don't hate on Mr. Mars there, Mr. Down in the Den with the Pierre middle name. He's Le Magnifique, as they would say, in my poorest of attempts at French there. So yeah, man, we're here, Dynamic Duo. We're gonna get into some stuff, break everything down that was the week in pro wrestling. A lot of stuff outside of the ring, outside of the squared circle, as they say. Some rumor and innuendo with stuff, and some other things that we'll deep dive into. But I think where we want to start off the show today and get into it, I didn't, stats and research didn't look this up in time before we went live on air, but SmackDown did it last night. Mark Henry leaves AEW on Monday, and he's giving out fake retirement segments on Friday. AJ Styles with the swerve.
Yeah. Big swerve last night.
Did it hook?
For me, unfortunately, I heard about it before I watched the segment. So I was spoiled before I went into it.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. And funny enough, it was actually our own Jason that spoiled it for me, because I logged on Twitter just to see what happened on SmackDown, and Jason posted, "Come on now, Cody Rhodes. The Mark Henry taught us never trust a man giving a retirement speech in pastels."
Yeah, if you were alive and you watched the actual original Mark Henry retirement segment with John Cena, which is arguably one of the best swerves in pro wrestling, that I think have ever been done, from a hook, line, sinker standpoint, believability.
That could explain it, Ty.
It's very true, Ty. I mean, but he has 4 kids, and I think all 4 of them are boys. So the light blue made sense from a color coded standpoint there. But the Mark Henry segment, we had never seen it before, right?
Yeah.
It came at a time where like people still believed it wasn't kayfabe wasn't completely dead, although that could be argued. Um, but he made it so damn good and so damn believable that when he actually swerved on Cena, it was like that mouth open, holy shit moment. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on here? How? And at the time, Mark Henry wasn't an A top tier guy.
Mm-mm.
Like, he had the Hall of Pain run and everything like that, but he wasn't there. Didn't have the title before that. So it was really shock and awe at that point in time and got you going, what are they doing? Where's this going? And how the hell did I buy into this the entire time it was going on?
I think you explained it right there. Like you bought into it because you didn't see it coming. Nobody saw it coming. He wasn't in that picture with Cena at all. So it set it up perfectly for to act like it's a retirement, and then you got the swerve.
And I get why WWE ran with this type of angle because the rumors and innuendo were out there. AJ himself has come out in multiple interviews saying, "Look, I'm coming up on the end of my run. It just is what it is. My body's broken down."
Mm-hmm.
He touched on it in the speech he gave last night, leading up to the swerve itself, but that's all real life stuff going on. Like,
Yeah.
he literally is coming to the end. But because I was alive and around and outside when Mark Henry went on, two things that initially had me going, okay, this isn't this something doesn't smell right. This doesn't pass the smell test. One, the suit. Obviously, the pastel color immediately. Mark Henry with the salmon jacket, AJ Styles with the Easter blue, and two, AJ in a suit. When have we seen AJ in a suit in WWE? Never.
It's rare, other than the appearances, like whenever they're now that they do those like walking into the arena type packages. That's it. You don't ever see
Even
him
then,
come to
he's
the
not.
ring.
Even then, he's not even always in a suit. Like, AJ dressed up just doesn't fit AJ in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
You saw him in TNA a little bit with a suit on, based on the character.
Yeah.
Um,
Fortune.
Fortune, right? But AJ's not that guy. He's never been that guy.
Yeah.
So the fact that he has a suit on, I'm looking at it from the perspective of, okay, this don't mean much. I look, I get that, Taekwon, but at the same time, when he laid out the reasons as to why, it made sense. He got his title shot. He had the ovation for him in France. That's up there top tier with any wrestler, any ovation for a wrestler that I've ever seen in my
Yeah.
life. Like, goosebumps. The crowd was insane. The camera was shaking. It was, if you're going to go out, like, that's the response that you want to go out on as far as the last match. And him and Cody tore the house down.
Like you had Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico, but that was Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico. For it to be AJ randomly in France and getting that reaction, just like those factors don't work together, you wouldn't think, but just like amazing
And
stuff.
the other thing, the other part of that equation is that it was AJ in France going against the hottest babyface in pro wrestling. He wasn't in there with some Joe Schmo. He's in there with Cody Rhodes, who is over as Rover right
Yeah.
now, and is arguably the top tier loudest reaction out from any guy in any promotion at this time. So that those two, that crowd in France, that's 1A and 1A, like not 1A 1B, like that's 1A and 1A for the response that those two got during that match. Taekwon, if you ain't been watching the show, man, I've had this headset on for, I don't know, a couple months now. You know what I mean? Like, it
A
is
good
what
bit.
it is at this point. I didn't feel like hooking up the microphone this morning. Get off my dick. How about that? Okay. This guy got me coming in hot. I'm gonna come in hot. We're gonna have the roast of Taekwon on this show in a minute.
Like people were talking when the match happened, like building up to it. Like why is WWE booking this match, with no hype going into it, just putting it together. honestly, I think you saw why in France for the reaction that the two of them got.
Right. It wasn't the greatest story. It wasn't the greatest story and build told because they had 2 weeks to do it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was, hey Cody, I've been here. I've been a guy. You just got the strap. Can you handle the pressure and step up to the moment as champ? You finally climbed to the mountaintop, put your flag in and stamped it. Now can you stop people from trying to knock you off the mountain? So that's believable given the fact that it's AJ Styles saying that to Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
If it would have been somebody else and they ran that story over a 2-week period, I wouldn't have bought in the way that I did. But because it's AJ Styles, it made sense. So they have the match, they tear the house down. AJ immediately wants a rematch. All this tells him, no, professionally, I can't give it to you. Okay. And then we come to last night. And we get the storyline throughout last night was the thread. And as the night went along, it the whispers turned into a little bit of chatter, turned into flat out people questioning, hey, is he retiring tonight? Like LA Knight asked Nick, oh, is he really done? Is he calling it quits tonight? Like, what's going on? So they did a good job of setting it up and leading to it. I thought the addition of the Good Brothers was a nice touch, but again, if you're playing context clues and you're watching for the keys, they're in all black.
Yeah.
So, normally that either means, hey, we're getting a turn by you, and they're going to attack AJ, a la what Statlander did to Willow because she was out there in all black, right? Or something else is up, and the jig is going to, it's going to come to roost sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
What the true plan is here. I thought the internet said before AJ went out, when he whispered in Cody's ear, he just whispered Mark Henry. Like, I thought that was great. Like, internet, when the internet does that type of stuff, that's when the internet's good.
Yeah.
That's whenever I enjoy the internet wrestling community, when they come up with stuff like that. But
so I'll give Jason's take on this because this was his one of his jabronis for the week, not his main one, and he had said, I actually enjoyed the segment and it was damn near believable, but I knew as soon as I saw him in that Dumb and Dumber blue suit, the swerve was coming. You don't run the same exact Mark Henry angle here. All that was missing was I still got a lot left in the tank.
I already talked about it. I agree with Jason with the suit, right? But at the same time, the Mark Henry angle, it hasn't been done since one.
I didn't look it up because I want to say that was it maybe like 2008 that happened.
Yeah, and we're talking, we're talking over a decade since it's been done.
So almost a different generation of fans now.
Exactly. So if you're not in the bubble and you're not talking about it and giving your age, depending when you started watching wrestling, Taekwon, stats and info.
Go.
2013. Stats and info. And never let the truth get in the way of a good story, Taekwon.
Man, it all blends together whenever you're a wrestling fan, been watching for years.
But so you're 11 years out. Like, why not? What's wrong with it? It is what it is. When we know wrestling repeats itself all the time.
Yeah, constantly.
But the fact that nobody else has done this angle in 11 years is like, okay, why not run it back?
Mm-hmm.
And it legitimately gives AJ another shot at the title. I don't know if it'll happen at Clash because of the way that the card's structured. We already have one championship match on the card with Drew and Priest, although Cody did say he would be at Clash. Maybe we don't get the match, maybe something else. Cody's going to be there just as a champion of WWE doing press and everything else that goes on.
When is Clash? That's like the end of June?
I thought it was June 15th.
It's 15th? Okay. Because I'm trying to, Money in the Bank is the 6th of July. So.
Yeah, I think Clash is the 15th and then Money in the Bank is the 6th. So you got
just depends on how long you want to play this out for.
I say run it to Money in the Bank. let it play out on
Mhm.
TV for the next couple weeks. Um, I wouldn't, because Cody took the Styles Clash off the steps. I would like keep him off TV for a week,
Yeah.
even though that is your champion, and that's not the Cody Rhodes persona per se. But I think you gotta sell that a little bit and keep him off TV for at least 1 week.
Like that wasn't good. The segment itself wasn't necessarily, going to be like my Mount Rushmore for the week. But when he took that Styles Clash off the steps, it's like, okay, this could be contender here.
Well,
Like, that
initially,
was an amazing spot.
when he set him up, and I'm looking at it, the way the camera angle was, I thought he was going to actually hit it on the steps itself.
That's where I thought we were going to.
And I'm like, Cody's face is literally an inch above the steps right now. Like, how is this move going to possibly work? Like, and not permanently injure Cody. But then he jumped off and hit on the floor, and I was like, well, that's even more devastating.
Yeah.
Like, because you added some height to it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was as pro wrestling of a swerve as pro wrestling swerves come. Um, and like you said, depending on your generation and when you grew up and when you started watching wrestling, they got you hook, line, and sinker. I was seeing videos on Twitter of people tearing up, watching along, talking about AJ Styles, like, can't believe that this is it. And then, boom, clothesline, and we're off to a beatdown, and we go home. Fade to black on AJ's face. Like, kudos, well done,
Mhm.
tremendous job last night from all those guys around. And I would love to hear Mark Henry talk about it on Busted Open himself to get his words to see how they were able to draw emotion out of him, given that he went through that and was the catalyst of that angle himself.
That would have been the perfect time. I don't think they do it after SmackDown, but like I know Bully Ray likes to do like Busted Open After Dark on like after Raw or Dynamite. That would have been the perfect time to do it with Mark Henry right after
Right.
SmackDown last night.
Yeah, and maybe he'll call in to the Saturday show that they
Yeah.
got going on now to talk about it, or save it for Monday. Have a couple days to digest it and truly get his thoughts on it. But yeah, like I said, kudos all the way around. And for Cody not having challengers set up, AJ's a nice one to go with here. I just
Mhm.
don't like the fact that if we are coming down the tail end of the pike for AJ's run, because I'm not sure how long of a contract he signed when he re-upped.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't
Whether
know the logistics on that.
whether it was a 3 year or a 5 year, I would say it probably would have been a 3 year. But, we're coming up on the tail end of his run, so I do want him to get a proper angle, proper run. We know it's not going to end. The end result isn't going to be him with the championship again. We get that.
Yeah.
But give
I
him
wouldn't
his.
mind another run, even a small run though, if we could. It's like it might not be the WWE title at this point, but if he would get moved to say Raw and run with a world heavyweight title, title that he hasn't held yet, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, but even on the Raw side of things, like, you got Drew and Gunther there, so like when like
I mean, it wouldn't happen
yeah, I just think
until
like
next year, but
the timing's off for him to actually get a final run. And then when you look at some of the bigger retirement match moments that we've had in WWE, Flair didn't have a belt, Shawn didn't have a belt, Taker didn't have a belt. Triple H never really truly got that retirement match moment,
yeah,
given way health wise. Batista didn't have the belt. He had his WrestleMania moment with Triple H and called it quits then. Stone Cold, I mean, we got it how many years after, but you know, it was what it was there. Like,
no, I don't even need the title for like his retirement, but I would just like to see him as champion before the retirement at some point.
uh,
I think we're way past the point that he should have had another run. It's like he had two runs in there, and then just a strong length of time now since the last title run.
Yeah, and there was injuries in between now and
Yeah.
then, but I feel like, not saying that AJ's not a Triple H guy, right? But I think Triple H has a different vision and a different way of going about it, and not knowing that AJ's coming towards the end of it. I think the long-term plans and how he wants things to set up and people that he wants elevated in that, like, I'm not sure he AJ has the equity with Triple H that he would change plans for that.
Well, time will tell. Anything can change at any moment, really. So,
Hey, the card is always subject to change,
yep.
right? That's as they say. So, um, all right. Well, since we touched on Jason's comments there, with AJ and Mark Henry, anything else from that segment that happened last night?
Nothing that segment now.
I thought SmackDown overall last night was good storyline wise. Not saying that the in ring matches that happened last night weren't good to watch, but I thought they really hit a nice stride storyline. The Heyman Kevin Owens segment was great. The Bloodline that continues to go off without a hitch. Heyman is doing arguably the best work in his career, given the fact that he's a Hall of Famer. And him and Kevin Owens standing across each other with microphones, I'll pay money to listen to that all night long.
Yeah, I missed that segment. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. See how it
Yeah,
turned out.
and then even the stuff with Bailey, and Nia Jax and Piper, like, you did a good job setting up for Piper to get the title shot at Clash. So another European talent going home getting a title shot. Like, I just thought storyline wise, SmackDown hit a nice stride and good marks last night to advance a lot of stuff and set up stuff that's coming down. Look, Taquan, if you can't, if you're not excited as a pro wrestling fan watching Kevin Owens and Paul Heyman in the ring together, I you know maybe we got maybe we should just strictly tune in to AEW on Wednesday nights, because you're not getting that in AEW no more.
No, all right now.
So, um, well, speaking of AEW, and coming off of the heels of,
Double or Nothing.
I'd say their biggest show of the year, 5-year anniversary.
5 year. Yeah.
Um, a lot of surprises, a lot of returns. We can book it from Saturday through Wednesday till now, with what they did. But let's get into AEW a little bit, because I got a feeling that we got some mushes of this week that tie into AEW itself. So,
Yeah, we got some good and bad from AEW this week to talk about. Where you want to go? You want to go the good first, or
now we'll stick with the mushes. We'll get
okay?
the bad stuff out of the way, and then we'll ride the wave of positivity towards that throughout the rest of the show here.
All right, I'll go with. We'll talk about Jason's first. So his mush of the week was putting the title on Mercedes. Willow didn't need to take that loss. Mercedes didn't need that title, and that title didn't need her. She's not needed to elevate the title. That's the one title that actually elevates the talent and has been consistent.
I agree with the last end of that statement. As far as that title being used to elevate talent, we saw it with Jade for as long as she had it.
Mm-hmm.
Statlander had her run. Julia Hart was fantastic
Yeah.
with her run with it. Um, did Willow deserve a short reign like the one that she got? Probably not. Um, but I will say the booking, as far as being attacked afterwards, first off, going through and having a banger of a match. Her and
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes absolutely crushed it. Willow has really elevated her game in ring. Like, the character work was always there from her. That's what got her over with the crowd to begin with. But her in ring work has really stepped up over the last year. Um,
And we've even said the past couple weeks, they're not the wrestling, but the in ring segments where they're talking with one another. She looks like a star. Like she's been. this has helped make her into that main event talent that we knew that she could be.
Right. Everything there says, okay, this is an AEW Women's Champion.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you're going to have her drop the belt, you want her coming out looking like an AEW Women's Champion.
Yeah.
The attack by Statlander afterwards, I thought that was well done. What I hated about it was they didn't give it time to breathe, and the announcers didn't make it a big deal. It just happened, and that was it. They moved on to the next thing in the pay-per-view. And I know watching that pay-per-view, that was damn near a 6-hour pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And they were coming up on time. If you would have ended at midnight, it was Mercedes Willow. You still had Swerve and Cage plus Anarchy in the Arena. And they were at like 10:30, 10:40 whenever Willow and Mercedes were on. So it was like, I get not necessarily giving it minutes to breathe, but at the same time, you gotta, when something like that happens, you gotta stress the importance of it and make it feel like a big deal, so that when Statlander comes out on Wednesday, she's getting booed out of the arena.
As soon as I watched that, as soon as that segment ended, like where you saw Statlander and Stokely on the ramp, and then it went to the video package for Swerve, I knew that was going to be your complaint on that.
Yeah, I absolutely hated that,
because that's a consistent thing in AEW, is not letting things breathe. So
yeah, and I felt, honestly, watching the entire pay-per-view, I feel like I got more storylines on a pay-per-view than I do on a weekly basis with the AEW. Like,
and you're paying for that.
Yeah, Statlander turning and all that, that's storyline, right? You had MJF come back with Cole, that's storyline. Like, it just, yeah, it was more story. Not saying that the matches weren't sizzle enough, and there was plenty of good wrestling on the card itself, but I'm just watching it and I'm like, a lot of these things storyline wise could happen on your weekly show to make your weekly show better.
It's we're getting off topic here, but yeah, like you had a 4.5 hour pay-per-view plus, an hour or more pre-show. Like, maybe we need to cut some things down so you don't have to go overtime on a pay-per-view and eliminate. Like, did we need the MJF segment at Double or Nothing? No, that took extra time. That could have cut the show down like 15 minutes more, right there.
Well, you brought, first off, Cole coming out and talking after Roderick Strong loses makes no sense. And then the video for MJF to come back, he has the Triple H jacket on, gets Cole out of the ring, cuts a 60-minute promo, and then what? Neither one of those two are on Dynamite on Wednesday.
You get the return of MJF this upcoming Wednesday. So it's like, yeah, I didn't get that either.
What was the point?
Yeah. You lose a little bit of that hype from the pay-per-view by not following up on it right away.
Not only that, but you lose the hype of arguably your biggest star's return.
Yeah. That was the thing that was most talked about, I think, from the event.
So that again, 0 cents. Like, I don't get it at all. So Mercedes having the TBS title, going back to Jason's point, doesn't bother me. She's a CEO, give her the belt. You're not going to put her in the main title picture right now with Toni Storm.
No.
So if you're not going to put her in the main title picture right now with Storm, because the reign that Storm has had, the character work that she's done, the natural story with her and Mariah May eventually splitting, which, can send Toni Storm into the deep end even more, or maybe bring her back around. Let that be by itself right now. So
I was thinking the other day, we're coming up close to being the year mark for timeless Toni Storm. Like, I went on for a while, like, for the build up, but like, I know by All In, she wasn't, like, I think she was just starting to 100% get to 100% timeless. So it's like we're getting on that year mark, and I'm cool with that. Like this could go on more. Like I don't need it to end right now, but at some point, it will.
Yeah, Taekwon, they just got the bridge out of the port, man. It's coming. All right, I promise you, it's coming. Okay, I will make it up to you. I promise. All right. This is not false promises. These are not fake words. This is not fake news. I got you. Okay, I promise. Got a lot of shit on my plate right now, and I don't need you reminding me every single week. I know. Okay, I know. And it was a free contest. You got gimmick. You got gimmick of the year. You worked it. Good job.
He didn't send in his mail-in rebate form.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, did I hate that? Or you forgot about the mail-in rebate, and then you found it like 2 days after it expired. And you're like, son of a bitch, I didn't even get my $50 back or whatever. Like,
coming from a guy that's in sales, why do they do mail-in rebate forms? Hoping that you forget it.
That's one of the biggest scams ever. Like, you want to talk about here, spend $250, but then you got to mail in to get 50 to save $50.
Yeah,
it's like, nah, actually, I just spent $250.
And what does it always say in the bottom? Like, expected 8 to 12 weeks later.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh man, what a screw job that is. So, all right.
I think this could kind of tie into Donald's.
Yeah.
For the week, and Donald's mush was Sky Blue being put in the Nyla Rose spot, becoming the first opponent for the new champion. She did it with Willow, and now this week against Mercedes. Even though the match was good, don't job her out like that. I get where he's coming from with it. I didn't necessarily see her like in that spot.
No, me either. What I hated about it, the two things I hated about it. One, I brought up on this show, I think it was last week when we were talking about the pay-per-view and Mercedes and Willow. So Sky Blue's the one that legitimately attacked her.
Yeah.
That, like, really, there was nothing said of it, and then all of a sudden Mercedes wins, and now Sky Blue is the one that attacked her. At the time, like,
you don't have the follow-up for it.
Nothing there. Yeah, nothing there. So then you attack Mercedes, you take her out. The shot in the segment ends with your knee on her throat, you holding the belt high, and 30 minutes later you're wrestling the match.
Yeah.
Why are you booking it for the same night?
That made no sense to me at all. Like, I get we had to get to, we're building towards Forbidden Door now, but you could have waited for the match for another week, at least, because you could have at least had Sky Blue come out on Rampage or Collision afterwards or something and say, like, I knew you were going to win this title, and so I attacked you because I wanted the first shot at that title afterwards, or something like that. So it made sense to have a feud instead of just a blow off.
Using Sky Blue just to show Stephanie Vicur on the ramp to set up her versus Mercedes at Forbidden Door, it's terrible booking.
Yeah. You could have done that in Mercedes celebration.
Exactly.
Like, you didn't don't even have
Sky Blue attack.
Yeah.
Don't have her on the Jumbotron. Don't have her be revealed as the person that attacked her, because we all know that's not that if that was the original booking of that angle, it was one of the shittiest angles I've ever seen booked. But just have Mercedes come out, cut the promos. She gave Willow her flowers. You know, she talked up her coming back to whoop Statlander's ass, everything else. And then go to the Forbidden Door angle with Vicur. And I get it. You needed to set up the video package to kind of make your audience aware of who she is if they're not aware of who she is. But that doesn't make sense, because AEW fans are supposed to be the smart wrestling fans, and they watch everything and they know who everybody is. Well, if you're only booking to your audience, which that's all they've told us that they book to, then just have her come out on the stage.
Yeah.
Don't even set it up with a video package.
And then you could have put Mercedes in instead of the opening segment, be the, second hour kickoff or something like that.
You do the 9 o'clock crossover with her.
So you could have done the video package in the first hour, and then she appears in the second hour.
Yeah, have the celebration start at the 8:57 mark, and you cross over to 9 o'clock, so you
Yeah.
get your ratings on both hours. So yeah, I does it do Sky Blue any benefits? Absolutely not. Is she in a Nyla Rose spot, as Donald calls it? I don't think so. I don't see that necessarily from her, but I don't know where she goes from here.
With Julie not being around right now, just seems like, yeah, what else are they going to do with her?
And like the House of Black, I mean, that whole storyline and angle went to shit because of Copeland breaking his leg.
Yep.
So now you
No,
don't have you
care of
don't
her
have
spot.
you don't have Buddy and Brody with him now because that was the stipulation. He bends the knee or the house comes to him. Now where do you go with that?
Mm-hmm.
And like and was the spot needed? Absolutely not. Was it even in the original match format that they laid out? Maybe, maybe not. Like the way Adam talked about it whenever he gave his little video on Twitter the next day or 2 days later, whatever day it was. Um, you're in, he said, "Hey, in there, adrenaline's running. My mind thinks one thing, my body thinks the other way. Like I, I overdid it. I screwed up. It's on me. Like, okay,
I mean, injuries happen. You never know when they're going to happen. It's just the way he came down just straight. It's just like that was just
well, he had the I'm gonna go through with this until he was in the air, and then it was like, oh shit, and then he just fell straight down like
yeah.
Wile E. Coyote. Like, you know what I mean? Like that. He was like, "This is gonna work. This is gonna be amazing. Let's do this." Adrenaline pumping, and then he jumped off and was like, "That's when his body was like, nope," and gravity took over, and he just came straight down. Like that's all that was.
It reminds me a little bit of yeah, and I'm gonna really throw it back here. In the '80s, whenever they did the scaffolding match with Cornette, and he fell down and then blew out both of his knees. You know,
Yeah,
it's just like
and that
that's
was
why
just
you don't do those types of jumps.
and that was just because Cornette didn't know how to
Yeah,
take a
take a
bump
bump.
or take a bump from 20 feet up in the air off the scaffolding, right?
Nobody did back then.
No, so he wanted Uncle Dave star ratings. Donald out here. Yeah, I saw people complaining about Meltzer's star rating, saying that Mercedes and Willow got the same star rating as, and then they rattled off like a bunch of um like all time matches in WWE. Like,
Okay.
really, you're gonna put Willow and Mercedes up to that? I thought Willow and Mercedes absolutely rocked it, but that could just be me being higher on women's wrestling right now than I am the men's side of things. So
It was a good match. I don't know if I'd put it up there. Like for me, it's not like a match of the year contender for me, but
no, but I think like it got the same amount of stars as like Owen and Brett from WrestleMania 10. Like,
okay.
are you really gonna like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like it was put up there with like those types of matches, right?
Okay.
Like, so yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, since we're on the negative Nancy side of AEW, my mush of the week is just AEW booking altogether. I absolutely hate. I hate what Tony Khan's doing right now. Um, word is that he was rewriting the show up and until like an hour before.
I've heard
When have
that
we
too.
heard? When have we heard that? Who used to do that? Like
That's what everything this week was comparing AEW to like 2019 WWE.
it really it's like that 2017 to 2020 range. Like, it's FTR with the hot bomb. It's Roman Reigns with dog food on him. It's Lashley and Lana kissing on the ramp.
Mm,
Rusev watches. Like, it's just none of it makes sense.
yeah. And then the thing that really annoyed me this week was in one of his interviews, Tony Khan said he pulled a Nick Khan.
Yeah, who's he hot? That's what it was.
He pulled a Nick on and he was just like, "Hey, if they want to do 3 hours of Dynamite," he goes, "we've been testing it, with adding the Rampage in for the extra third hour." He goes, "I'm here for the conversation." Just like, now you're really just going to destroy your product, because it's not there right now as it is with 2 hours on Wednesday night. And if you add a third hour, what's that going to do?
I actually wouldn't be. I would be open to the idea because the last Dynamite Rampage combo that ran those 3 hours, that I actually enjoyed that show, and those like that 3 hours flowed well. Like, so if you're just gonna give me Dynamite for 3 hours and then 2 hours of Collision on
Oh no,
Saturday,
it's Rampage would stay.
yeah,
It's
no,
still,
no, no, no,
yeah,
no,
it's not. It's taking 5 hours and making it 6.
yeah, no, don't, no, absolutely not,
Yeah,
absolutely not doing that.
it's just too much.
But I mean,
Because I
going
don't
back,
need 3 hours of Dynamite and then a 6 hour pay per view once a month too. Like, there's a certain, like, we talked about oversaturating the market, and that's what he's trying to do right now.
yeah, there's a certain tipping point of diminishing returns. You have your return on investment versus diminishing returns,
Mm-hmm.
right? AEW is teetering a lot, and some would say they're more towards diminishing returns than return on investment,
Yeah.
based on viewership, etc. We still don't know what's going on with Warner, and the TV rights deal that ends the end of this year. I think if you do that, you're absolutely going to nosedive into diminishing returns.
Yeah, it's when the time to do that is whenever people are clamoring for more. Whenever you're selling out every week, whenever it's the must-watch program each week. Now's not that time.
What's ROH? I don't know. What are those 3 letters? What does that mean? Because that's an afterthought that's not even relevant at this
No.
point. There might as well not even be a Ring of Honor. They were better off actually selling and not coming back at all at this
Or
point.
just ending completely.
But back to the booking, like we touched on a lot of things already from the pay-per-view to Wednesday night. And it another thing, and this is AEW, this is Tony Khan booking to the AEW Mark fan base. Ospreay wins the title.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why Donald didn't lump that in with Mercedes. You don't put the belt on Mercedes, but you're okay with them putting the belt on Ospreay. It's the same thing. It's the freaking international championship, right?
The
Like,
title that doesn't matter though.
but you have Ospreay win, and then Wednesday night you have Ospreay win the Casino Gauntlet match or the Casino Gauntlet Royale match, whatever the hell he called it, to immediately face Swerve at Forbidden Door. Why? What's the point? That's your all-in main event.
I think we're still going to get there.
Not if they wrestle at freaking Forbidden Door.
My thinking right now is, because Tony's all in on Ospreay, pun intended, that they're going to have this match. Something's going to happen for shenanigans for Swerve to retain. And then what do you have right after Forbidden Door? The Owen Hart tournament, which they've announced that the winner will get the title shot at All In.
So you're gonna have Ospreay win the Gauntlet and the Owen Hart to get title shots. That's how Ospreay gets title shots.
He's all in on Ospreay, so he's gonna win that, and that's how they get the rematch and the main event of All In.
And if it's Forbidden Door, why is your AEW champion wrestling an AEW contracted wrestler? What's the Forbidden Door? There's no Forbidden Door in that match.
It's almost more like the old Ring of Honor events where it was just Worlds Collide. So it's like and it wasn't always Worlds Collide. It was, here's your Ring of Honor match, here's your New Japan match, and that's kind of what some of the matches have been even at Forbidden Door. So you'll have Moxley probably defend the title, and that'll be the New Japan stipulation for the night, and then you'll have the AEW title.
Now, if you add a New Japan or a CMLL wrestler to Ospreay and Swerve, a la you had Okada, Jay White, Danielson, Hangman, like if you do that, even though it's repetitive and you're doing it again, but then okay, cool, Swerve wins, but he didn't pin Ospreay.
Yeah. the CMLL talent take the pin and
or the New Japan, because we know those guys don't, really win at Forbidden
ever.
Door. But yeah, I'm just I hate the booking of AEW right now. Are there bright spots? Do I enjoy some stuff? Yes, but like I didn't even watch Anarchy in the Arena. I went to bed. I
I
couldn't
mean,
stay awake no
it
more.
ended at 12:30, so
Like I literally I went to bed. I'm like I saw the start of it. When Darby walked out with the thumbtack mask on, I was like, all right, I'm going to bed. I'm done.
so this will play, and this is my Mount Rushmore for the week, and surprised me because usually the Anarchy in the Arena, the Stadium Stampede, it's entertaining, but it's not something that I ever really give a shit about. But I really enjoyed the match. I thought it was fun. It was entertaining the whole time. It went a little long. It was a half-hour match, but you know, it's kind of hard to follow sometimes. But I enjoyed it, like start to finish.
I think watching it back, the the first act, if you're breaking down a match in 3 acts, right? The first act of the Anarchy in the Arena or the Stadium Stampede
Mhm.
is the most difficult to watch because you have wrestlers all over the place. You have the
Yeah.
multiple camera cuts. You have uh, just tons of shit going on that you can't even visually digest and process.
When they actually got, I think probably like what you're talking about, like in that second act, they started like focusing on, okay, here's this part, here's this part, here's this part,
And there,
like what they
and
did in
that's
Stadium
whenever
Stampede.
everybody was in the ring or around the ring, right? Like you didn't have people at the ice cream stand. You didn't have a car accident in the back.
Yeah.
Like yeah, when they got more of the focus centered toward around the ring and in the ring itself, then yeah, it was a good match and it provided what it was supposed to from it being an Anarchy in the Arena match itself.
But the opening of like the music playing the whole time, like what you were talking about with like New Jack, I saw you tweet about that.
Yeah,
It's just like that would have been the perfect spot to play New Jack's music or something like that in there. But like what you had Final Countdown playing, and the fans were just going for it.
singing
Just
along with it.
yeah,
And I did like the heel move by the EVPs to say, "Cut it
yeah,
off. We're
it's
200
costing
grand
too much money.
yeah, 200 grand in the hole because that damn song plays." And then they got at the press conference, and that's exactly what they were bitching about in the press conference. Hey, we lost a lot of money during that match because that stupid song kept playing. So yeah, but even with that fallout, right? You saw nobody from Team AEW on Wednesday night.
Because they weren't a team.
Yeah,
Like,
but like none of them. None of them. Darby showed a picture with thumbtacks through his nose.
I
We
mean, if
don't.
anybody should not have been on Dynamite this week, it was Darby.
Danielson ate the pin, and FTR. We're going to hear from them tonight on Collision, allegedly.
Okay.
So it's like, you know, and that ties back into again my wish of the week booking wise. Christopher Daniels comes out, who is
Oh,
the
that was
interim
awful.
EVP. He got hired back as the interim. Who's he entering EVP
I
for?
have no idea.
Omega? Is he taking Omega's spot? And when Omega comes back, the interim EVP title will go away, and he'll be fired again. Like
It was like Daniels was brand new on Wednesday night because he bought so much stuff in that segment, or it just wasn't planned correctly. Because like after like he was done, I was like, what just happened here? Like you had, like you said, yeah, he says he's interim. Who's the interim for? Because they didn't establish that. He ended up calling it like Friday Night Dynamite. So he's the head of talent. Doesn't even need to know the show that is on Friday night. Just it wasn't a good segment at all.
I mean, who had the worst blurb or blub of the week? Daniels with the Friday Night Dynamite or Carmelo Hayes telling LA Knight, why would LA face you? Whenever he was supposed to say, why would Logan Paul face you?
Okay.
Yeah. Carmelo Hayes, not a strong outing last night. And kudos to LA Knight for calling him out on it live. I don't think that was part of the script because
No,
he
I
was like,
probably not.
LA Knight looked at him like, hey, dummy, if I'd be out there facing myself, why would I want to wrestle myself? Like, he's like, get your names right. And, like, yeah, Mello, That was not a good look from Mello. You can't call yourself him if you get in wrestlers' names wrong
Yeah,
in your promo, bro. Not gonna work. So,
he's focused on him, nobody else. So that's why he gets them wrong.
all right. So we got your Mount Rushmore of the week with
Yep.
Anarchy and Arena. What do Donald and Jason have as far as their Mount Rushmore?
Jason's will go with this one. The story that they're working between Bron, Ricochet, and Dragunov has me intrigued. Bron is looking strong, and Ilja and Ricochet are putting on bangers. We've seen Bron and Ilja go, so a triple threat between them would be insane.
Absolutely, but Jason, thanks for stealing the work that I did last week promoting Braun as my Mount Rushmore of the week and the booking of him. And they went with the you're suspended, you're not supposed to be here. And what Braun do? Sneak into the arena, spear the shit out of some people, and leave.
Yeah.
Hey, Adam Pierce, Triple H, you're welcome. I booked it for you before you did it. So yeah, Jason, kudos to you for stealing my homework. You're welcome.
Hey, the triple threat's what is throwing him into it now.
That's what's throwing him into it now. Yeah, no. I agree with everything he says there. Like that. This is what I want from Bron Breakker, and it's gonna get him over. It's gonna get him over. Like the crowd's already starting
It seems to be.
to do it. Like, yeah, give me a couple more weeks of this, and he's gonna be Wardlow white hot with the Powerbomb Symphony. And I think that's the you'll see the difference between AEW and WWE with this booking of Bron Breakker because they're gonna make him they're gonna naturally make him as hot as Wardlow was naturally made. Pause in AEW, but they're not gonna drop the ball like AEW did with Wardlow.
No.
Like you'll see the difference play out. If you want to nitpick nuances between the companies and see which one's better, watch how they build and book Bron Breakker and compare it directly to Wardlow, and you'll see the difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely see that being a good transition for him on the main roster right now. So you're taking a similar stance that you had with him in NXT, but just different now too.
I know Gable is like the chef's kiss as far as what he's been doing and his heel work and eventually leading to him winning the IC title. But man, if you put Braun on this run and just have him take out Sammy and yeah, like I would not be mad if that's the direction they went at all.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw rumors this week that Gable's contract's going to be up soon.
It is. There's Gable, Natty, Becky's a free agent as of midnight, so she's a free agent now. And then there's a fourth person too, and I can't remember who it is, but all four of them are like either Becky's the free agent, and the other three are coming up real soon. So we'll see how that comes out. But I'm not mad at Jason's Mount Rushmore this week. I thought they followed up the booking of Braun perfectly with what they did.
I didn't get into my mush. So coming off of Raw with Jason's on with Braun, my mush for the week was the opening segment of Raw. The segment with Gunther, Priest, and Drew. It was not a good segment. Like you're setting up essentially two matches in one segment, and it did not play out well.
No, and I was the cash in from Priest was great, and it worked given the chess pieces and how they were set up on the board. But everybody knows that you're eventually going to Drew, and you're going to have Drew win. Like Drew's winning at Clash. There's not a scenario in my mind that thinks that Drew McIntyre is not winning the title at Clash.
I would be very surprised if they won two events over there. Two Clash of the Castles with him in the main event, and both times he would lose.
And
like,
it's not
looking more than anything.
And it's not saying that Priest isn't or can't carry the ball and not be a guy, but the couple times that he's been focused on the mic with somebody else in front of him, it just hasn't come off good. Him and Jay was okay. um, right out the gates. But these last couple, if it's not Judgment Day stuff backstage talking wise, and he's out there with a Gunther or Drew or somebody like that, it just doesn't. You see the levels, and
Yeah.
for as much as Damian does really good work and has elevated his stock throughout the course of his WWE run to where they put the belt on him, there's a certain level that he's not at yet, and you can
Mhm.
see it in these particular spotlighted segments, and you can't have that if that's your champion.
Eh, For as great as he is with the Judgment Day segments, it's like I'm surprised how there's just that disconnect with him, you know, being one of the main guys.
And I think the disconnect comes in because they book him differently than the dynamics when he's booked and given something for Judgment Day versus the dynamics when he's booked in a face off with
Yeah.
Drew and Gunther. They're having him be two different people. If he was the same guy that he is in the backstage
Yeah.
segments with Judgment Day, I think he would come across a lot better whenever he's face to face with a Drew or a Gunther.
When you have him and Gunther in there, it's like it just that was probably the worst part of the segment. But then you have Drew come out, who's been good on the mic, and I just felt that segment was off for him too. Like it was across the board. Like all three of them, I felt were off on Monday because you have Priest get under his skin, and, talking about his wife there for a quick segment, and it just goes nowhere real fast. Like the whole segment just was off.
Yeah, and if you really look at it, which this could be an underlying cause why that whole segment came off, you have three heels in the ring. There's not one babyface
Yeah.
out of the three of them. Like it, Drew's been a babyface before, and the crowd has their reaction to him as it is. So he may be like the only guy in gray that's in that segment.
Mm,
But you have three heels,
yeah.
and that two heels, heel is hard enough. But now you
Mm,
have three out there, and they're all gonna try to run each other down because they're all hit like it. Yeah, that could be why the segment didn't come off the way that it did because there's no baby face in there to carry it
yeah. Or to
or
play
to,
off
to,
of
to
more.
bounce off of. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Go into Donald's here. So we're gonna head over to NXT now. So Donald's been on a little bit on the mush side for NXT the past few weeks. So NXT's back on the good side, and he's giving it to All Ego Ethan Page showing up at NXT. Much needed shot in the arm in the main event picture. He can definitely help Trick with his work in the ring. And to be honest, they should throw the title on him right now.
I'm not mad at Donald's pick. I thought All Ego was a nice surprise.
Definite
Um,
surprise.
rumblings, said we knew that he was done with AEW.
Mhm.
I think the surprise is that the turnaround. Like, I think he's the fastest guy that went from AEW to show up on WWE TV. Like, as far
Probably.
as when he left the company, when he left AEW to when he showed up in
Yeah.
WWE on screen on TV. I think he's the quickest one that's done it, right?
I mean,
Like,
that kind of goes whenever you let your contract play out. You don't have that 90-day clause there.
and Tony Khan, rumor is he doesn't like conflict. Geez, I mean, what would give that statement any truth? But he's not going to fire people. He's just going to let their contracts run out.
Yeah.
So if you're just letting contracts run out, we saw Mark Henry's contract ran out. Egos. Arn Anderson said he's not re-signing when his deal's up coming up here, so he's leaving. Like, he's just letting people go after their contract if he doesn't want to re-sign them. So yeah, they're going to turn right around and end up on the other screen if they have value to add.
Yeah.
And I
And that
thought,
adds that shock moment, which WWE likes to give that 90 days. So it's just like you can talk about them getting fired, but it's going to dry out in those 90 days, and before you get that next shock factor of them showing up somewhere.
I think All Ego. I think Ethan Page's timing when he went to AEW was ultimately what led to his downfall. Like, if he would have been brought in the beginning, I think he would have clicked and hit a lot more than when he got brought in. Because the tide was changing when he came in,
Yeah.
and all they did was lump him in tag teams and shitty storylines with Dan Lambert, and him and Scorpio Sky had some entertaining moments as Men of the Year. Don't get me wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but
It went nowhere.
yeah, nah, he's more than what AEW showed of him as far as a professional wrestler and performer.
And if there's going to be a working relationship with, say, NXT and TNA, I would love to see him. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I would love to see him back in TNA to kind of finish up some stories and keep them going.
And if you're paying attention on social media, he cut a video on Twitter saying, "Hey, I'm not signed anywhere. I don't have a contract.
Okay.
I showed up just to do that. So NXT, the ball's in your court. You want me back? Call me and let me know. But all ego's a free agent. I haven't signed nothing yet."
Okay.
So they're giving a little, mystery out there, and
Yeah.
and nothing's been actually reported that he actually signed. I didn't see anything this week that he actually signed.
I mean,
Although,
could definitely be, whenever Cardona's done it, and just appeared on different places. So he can play that gimmick.
yeah. So yeah, what's so that's Donald. Donald and Jason. Jason gave his. You gave yours.
Yep.
That what you just brought up with TNA and that with him, that segues into my Mount Rushmore this week. Jordynne Grace, the Juggernaut, the title for the show. Um, a holy shit moment because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it coming. Nobody saw it coming.
Yeah.
When Ava was on the phone last week talking about, yeah, no, it's good, it's signed. She was talking with acting like she was on the 3-way call with Pierce and all this. Like I thought we were getting somebody from the main roster to come down and challenge Roxanne. And
Completely different.
yeah, that when that siren hit on Tuesday night, I was like, oh, this is not your father's WWE because that would not happen
Yeah.
with the other person in charge.
It's like you get those Rumble moments, like you had it with Mickey and you had it with Jordynne, but
Well, and the talk was based on hell. They put Jordynne Grace as the thumbnail for NXT on Peacock.
yeah.
Like when you went on Peacock to search, if you wanted to watch NXT, it's Jordynne Grace's
Okay.
picture. Like that's never happened
No.
before.
Because
Ever.
she's not signed, so
So she
just
she
hyping
talked
it up because it's a big moment.
yeah, and she talked on Busted Open and said Roxanne didn't know, like legit did not know that it
That's what
was
I
her
heard.
that was coming out. She said that they were going through and day of they were as it got later in the day they called Roxanne to tell her, and Roxanne was like, no, I don't. At this point, I don't even want to know. I'm just gonna go out there and see who it is. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't even care. You guys are jerking me around long enough. Like you haven't told me by now. But it is what it is, and I'll just see who it is out in the ring. And boy, that you want to talk about natural reactions? Like it was a home run
Yeah.
from her coming out, the crowd response there, her getting in the ring, talking and saying what she was doing. Um, I'm excited for the match. I think them two will absolutely tear the house down. Allegedly, she signed like a 3-date deal. So to show up, her match this coming week, and then the pay-per-view match,
That's fine.
which works out great because the week after TNA has not Slammiversary,
Against all odds.
Against All Odds, and Jordynne has an open challenge for her knockouts title there. So
I wonder who that's going to be.
I wonder who that's going to be. I think I would like to see it be Natalia, honestly.
Oh, see, I'm thinking it's going to be Roxanne.
You think Roxanne comes right back over?
I think it's just you give the favors. Jordynne loses that and on NXT, and Roxanne does the favors in TNA.
What if I see? I would have Jordynne beat Roxanne.
So you want to be the double champ?
I would have her beat Roxanne.
Okay.
Because if you're going to set up to NXT when Worlds Collide, which we know they already have the tagline for the pay per view, and you have a TNA NXT crossover pay per view, that's your Worlds Collide, a la your
When's that one
Forbidden.
gonna be? I haven't heard about that one yet.
Yeah, it's
Because I know
coming.
they got Heat Wave around SummerSlam.
Yeah, they have the tagline for it.
Okay,
So if we're setting up for that, like now, this is
that could be good.
this is strictly speculative, right? This is just me out there saying, hey, if we're doing NXT Worlds Collide and it's an NXT TNA crossover, like this is a hell of a way to set the stage for it.
Yeah,
Jordan showing up, um, and if you read the scuttlebutt in the dirt sheets, like WWE's response to her debuting at the Rumble and the reaction she got, and just how positive their interaction with her was, how the talks with TNA worked. Like it was a home run across the board in every sense of the way, and it led them to set this up for her to come out and debut and be
I
the
mean,
challenger. So,
who's having a better year, on the women's side than possibly Jordynne Grace right now?
hey, if you're at the halfway pole and we're taking polls of women's wrestler of the year, men's wrestler of the year, tag team, etc., Jordan got to be in the top 3 as far as
Yep.
women's wrestler of the year right now, regardless of the fact that she's in TNA.
Yeah.
Like just from a wrestling culture shift change, what she's done this year, and the amount that her name's been spoken because of her 2 appearances in WWE, let alone the ring work that she's done. Like, absolutely got to put her in top
Yeah.
3 right now, halfway through the year,
And
for sure. 100.
that's the point. She won the title at the beginning of the year, and we're at the halfway point right now. What's she got going on the rest of the year?
Now, I will say on a TNA front, that's a little bit concerning. I saw and read this morning that they had a higher up resign from the company as far as like TV wise go. And right now, there's nothing on the books for them past their August, I think, 2nd and 3rd tapings.
Yeah, but they don't keep a lot on the books at one time. So
You just start seeing some of these people that are dropping off that have been there 10, 15, 20 years. And I don't know if it's, some of these higher ups that are leaving is still like some fallout from Demore getting let go. But
I think you still will see that because some of the people have just said they're going to stick around, and here we are, roughly 6 months now, going on it of Demore being gone. So they've had enough time to see what the future looks like. I think of the current administration, but
if we get an NXT Worlds Collide, and it is TNA versus WWE, what are you booking? What do you want to see? I know it's on the spot, and you have time to think about it.
If this gets us our Ethan Page, Josh Alexander match, I'm cool with that.
Oh, buddy. I think it's a lot harder to book the men because of the NXT men's division right now than it is the knockouts and the women.
Yeah. Maybe let's save this for next week because, I mean, you know me, I don't watch NXT as much right now. So I'm not as up on the people where I know Dalton and Jason are more up on that.
All right, we
got NXT predictions next week too. So
okay, we'll table it. We'll tie it in with the NXT predictions, and then Donald and Jay will be back, and they can give their 2 cents on it. So yeah, but I Jordynne Grace, Mount Rushmore all day. Absolutely crushed it, and yeah, like I said, I'd put the belt on her.
Week's time, we'll find out.
So, all right. Anything else that you want to get into before we drop a game?
I mean, while we're talking about TNA, there was a couple things that I saw this week. I did have that thing about the executive leaving, but good week for their ticket sales and for Slammiversary.
Yeah,
great 48-hour opening for ticket sales, and enough that they decided they're going to add more seats to the setup. So
yeah. So there you go, Taekwon. Chew on that, buddy. Okay. TNA is now TNA may get absorbed in the WWE depending on how this all plays out.
wouldn't be the first
Um,
time we talked about it, but
yeah, but no, that's great news.
yeah,
And Slammiversary, you got Slammiversary and Bound for Glory are their two biggest shows. Slammiversary in recent memory has taken over as being the show. I'd say
especially
going,
coming off of releases.
yeah, I would say coming back to like when the Good Brothers debuted there,
Yeah.
like that started to run a Slammiversary being a bigger feel than Bound for Glory. But yeah,
But now you have somebody different running the ship, so that could get adjusted too.
yeah. I will say my 1B as far as Mush of the Week, which it's still on AEW, so I guess technically it's not a 1B, but the Jericho Learning Tree segment.
Oh, there hasn't been one segment of him the past couple weeks that I've enjoyed.
Yo, you want to talk about WWE 2016 2017 booking, that is it to a T.
Like, so I think I heard that last night on Rampage he said that he's done on the commentary booth,
Yeah,
which
Matt
is perfect.
Menard is officially the commentator on Rampage now.
Like, I haven't needed Jericho, as we've talked about this many times in the past too. Jericho pandemic, great on the booth. Since then, whenever it came back and put on Rampage, just awful. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that he's gone, but I've been watching Dynamite Live, and I think that's going to be changed to possibly fast forwarding because I can't sit through a Jericho segment anymore.
It's just like, he's probably one of the few wrestlers in that type of gimmick. You think if they're going to make it work and be like the cringy, like I hate this because it's so cringy, like because it's so bad wrestling, bad sports entertainment, that like it will actually turn into be entertaining, right? Like Jericho's done that throughout his career with certain things. So you think he'd be the one guy to pull it off? I just think now with where he's at, career wise, age wise, AEW work wise, like it's just bad, and it's bad. Like
Yeah, it's not entertaining bad. It's bad.
Yeah. So, but I will say, if I'm gonna get a trios with Hook, Samoa Joe, and Shibata out of this,
that would be nice.
I will take that as a bright spot and a win if that's the what I'm gonna get.
Yeah, I like that with Samoa Joe coming out and stopping Hook this week, because you could even play, and I don't think they're going to go this route again, but you could play a new Team Taz, because Samoa Joe was managed by Taz and TNA.
TNA, yeah. So, another little quick hitter. Since we're talking about some other stuff, we'll do quick hitters here before we get into the game this week. MLW has their Battle Riot 6 tonight on YouTube. They're 40-man, battle royale. It's always entertaining for the names and the surprises that show up. So I know MLW hasn't been high on my watch list in a while. They've kind of fallen off the wayside with the product that they put out, which was a shame because back whenever they relaunched, it was, I was watching them every single week, but I've gotten to the point where I just can't even tune into MLW anymore. I will, however, be watching Battle Riot 6 tonight just because of who's going to be announced. Like Ernest the Cat Miller was already announced as one of the participants. Like it's just it's everything that's right from a sports entertainment segment of pro wrestling. They do a great job booking it, and the surprises and people that you never thought you'd see come out. So I'll tune in tonight for that for sure.
Yeah, I'll probably tune in tonight. Just get a pulse again on MLW, see what's going on there. The only other thing that I had was, if you guys are familiar with Gabe Sapolsky, he used to work in ECW, ran Ring of Honor, and what was it, Evolve. He put out this week's speed match was Ciampa versus Kaiser.
Yeah.
And he said that this is a match that every indie wrestler should study and he's going to start talking about it in his lectures. And he's doing one this week in Memphis, and he said he was going to discuss it then.
Yeah, it was good, except for the fact that Kaiser didn't grasp the 3-minute clock concept. So yeah,
I watched the match after I saw that. What's up, man?
This guy showing up at the end of the pod. What's up, brother?
I logged in. I seen y'all was still going, so I was like, okay, where they at?
Yeah.
If it was a rap, I was just gonna wait till the after festivity.
We're just about to get into the game, so
we're just going over some quick hitters. There was one other thing. I know that it don't mean much because of who this person is, but Gable Stevenson obviously left out of his contract from WWE because he just wasn't delivering the money that they were giving him, and has signed a NFL contract with the Buffalo Bills. So he'll be going to training camp a la Brock Lesnar, trying to see if he can make it on the gridiron.
And he said that's the first time he put on cleats. It's just like, really? Like,
hey, we'll see.
It works, it works.
That's
if it works, it works.
I could see a transition to UFC more than I could have seen a transition to the NFL.
Yeah, but we'll see. That may be next on his list because he's running through industries right now. So, and then lastly, quick hitter before we get into the game. I saw we're talking about contracts coming up and money wise and that. So I saw the starting salary on the WWE main roster right now, and I got to do some more digging to see whether or not this is the actual number, but it's $350K.
I don't know where it was before, but
I thought like it was at like 175 before, but I guess inflation is a hell of a thing, and now it's up to 350.
It's a nice deal if you can get it.
Do you know are NXT stars still? Yeah. Are NXT stars still only getting paid $50,000? Do we know?
I don't know. I know that's a different contract than the main roster, but yeah, I don't know what they get. That was the last I had heard too.
So like when you see some of these, people that aren't being booked and just on the roster and everything else, and then you hear them talk about, well, it's kind of hard to leave the money. Yeah, if I'm Dolph Ziggler for 20 years and I'm just sitting in catering, I'll take the $350K a year.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure Dolph was getting more because of the time he had in, but like,
and merch too.
Right. So yeah, I just thought that was interesting to see. Like, okay, did that bump up after they signed the deal with TKO? And then you start doing the math, like, and you see if that's just the base, that's the lowest you can make is 350. Well, let's tally up some of these numbers here and figure out what they're paying out in payroll per year. Like, it's insane.
But don't forget too, yeah, it is high. That's more than I would expect. But talent has to pay for all their travel, all their hotels, their own health insurance, all that kind of stuff. They're independent contractors; they're not employees. So, that's a good point. But still, I would much rather take the $350K and do that, and then have a lot of write-offs at the end of the year for tax time than that making the $1,500 downside guarantee, where that's all you were guaranteed was the $1,500, and go from there.
So is that across the board, like in-ring talent wise?
Yeah, from what I saw, it said that main roster minimum salary for a wrestler was $350.
Shoot, you can be in a manager role like be fab and be good.
Yeah. I mean, but then you can kind of see maybe why.
What's going on, Deb?
You could see why there are releases. If that's going to be the thing.
Oh yeah.
We got to cut people that we're not using.
Yeah, that adds a whole that adds a whole another aspect to budget cuts. Well, if you got out of the if you're releasing 10 people, and out of those 10, 7 are making the 350, and then you have 3 talents that are $1 million, $2 million, $2.5 million. Like, that's a big savings when it comes to your year-end budget. Like, so, but yeah, I just thought it was a little interesting fact. I got to do some more digging to see if that's the actual number. But that's the first time I've seen like a specific number reported
Yeah.
as far as minimum
In a long
contract
time.
salary in a long time on the main roster. So, all right, let's get into the game of the week this week here. Now, I touched on this with Jordynne Grace with my Mount Rushmore as far as her showing up and being a shock and surprise debut on NXT. So maybe debut wasn't the right word as far as most surprising, but in that ilk, in that sense of her coming out and being, holy shit, I never would have expected to see Jordynne Grace on my NXT screen as TNA Knockouts champion. What for you guys are some of or your most surprising, holy shit, this person's here moment when they debuted for a company?
Jason, you want to
go? Kane is my all-time number one. This is going to be like always. I don't think nothing's going to top that for me. Just the storyline, the aura, everything. It was perfect.
Now, I'll save my question until everybody goes because again, context is everything, right? And maybe I didn't set it up right, but no, okay. I see where you're going with that. Okay, Kane. All right.
I'll give you Donald's. He has it as 1, 2, 3 Kid as his surprising debut. Watching as a kid, that upset had me shocked as hell. And I wish he was here because I would love to have him defend that pick.
I get it.
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
Mine is Jericho debuting in WWE. You know, the Y2J definitely didn't see that. I didn't see that coming. You know, I was a big Jericho fan, WCW. So when he showed up in WWE, I was glad to see him there.
So, Chris, you went the route that my mind initially had this go whenever I set it up, right? Like, meaning a wrestler that you like that showed up that you never would have thought. So, like, seeing Scott Hall walk out and get in the ring on Nitro was like, holy shit, what the hell is going on? Like, why is Razor Ramon there? You know what I mean? Like, that to me is kind of where I was going with it. So, like, obviously, I love the Jordynne Grace from Tuesday night. And then two other ones that immediately jump to mind is Sting when he actually showed up in WWE, because you never thought that they would actually do that. Like Sting, you thought that it would have passed and that would be the end of it. We'd never get Sting in a WWE ring at all. And then Devin picked mine. I still get goosebumps seeing it every single time he comes out. But AJ debuting at the Rumble, when he came out, like,
that's a good one.
I got goosebumps right now just thinking back to it. Like, I don't know why that one. Yeah, I don't know why that one sticks out the way that it does for me, but just I think because it was the Rumble, Roman was going. He had to go wire to wire, right, in order to keep the championship. He was in the ring by himself, and the way that the camera shot was, the music, and Roman's face looking at the screen, like, what the hell is this? And then you just see phenomenal fade out on the screen, and it's like, holy shit! Like AJ Styles is actually in the WWE. Like,
but you were already invested in AJ Styles too. It's just like, as was I. Like, I was a big AJ fan, TNA and New Japan. So it's just like seeing him get that moment, I think, is part of why it stands out so much.
That, and it was like AJ was always going to be the greatest wrestler that never wrestled in WWE. Like, because of everything that AJ is. He's not tall. He's not, you know what I mean? Like, he's not a great talker. Like, he's nothing that checks any boxes that Vince would want as far as a superstar at any moment in time in Vince's run as head of WWE.
And Vince told him what in his first month? Hey, I got a whole locker room of guys that can do exactly what you can do. You know,
what's going to
show me why you're different.
Yeah.
And
but that even if we're going now, right, I'll give you two. I'll give you Jordynne Grace is one, because in this Forbidden Door era, you wouldn't expect it on in the Rumble, and surprisingly, that did nothing to take away from the NXT debut. You were just as shocked to do that, and then of course Hogan showing up in WCW. That's
But
all it's gonna be.
wasn't Hogan's WCW? Didn't they have like the parade at Disneyland and he came down in a red Corvette with Jimmy Hart
Yeah.
driving, like to
He
sign
did.
the contract? Like,
Yeah, but I think that
I-
was more a surprise whenever they did that.
I just remember him showing up and as
no, I get it because
WBO.
that was the whole Bischoff announcing, "Hey, we're going head to head. We're doing Monday nights, and here's Hogan in the car. We're going to roll him out." I still remember, I think, what Sting and Flair and maybe the Steiners were up on stage at the table for like the press conference type deal. Like, it was weird to see who was up there. Now that I'm trying to think back and remember that, but I vividly remember Sting and Flair being up there, and maybe Sting and Flair for sure. But yeah,
I think you're right.
Hogan's a good one going
Hogan
to
likes to pull those surprises because he did like the same thing for TNA. Went to Madison Square Garden and said, "Hey, I have an announcement to make. I want to do it at MSG," and went there, and they had no clue it was going to be for TNA, and pulls the wool all over them.
Yeah, I mean, so on the flip side, like AJ TNA guy going to WWE, never thought you would have seen it, but Kurt Angle showing up in TNA and debuting was the one that was like, oh shit, why, like, Kurt Angle's in TNA? Like, Christian, you got, even though Christian was a surprise, but you could see Christian being at like being in TNA, being a TNA guy, right? Like,
Christian, Booker T, I think, felt the same way, that it was a good fit. Kevin Nash when he went there, but yeah, Kurt was different.
Yeah, Kurt for sure was like, oh, and the fact that it was the face off. We talk about Jordynne Grace for me and Jay being so high coming out Tuesday night, and like the face off with Roxanne, like Angle came out and he was immediately standing in front of Samoa Joe. Like, that was the debut, and it was like, oh my god, I'm getting Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle. Like, just, you can't get better than this in pro wrestling. Like,
dream that you didn't expect to ever get.
Right. Yeah, that was the thing. Like, so yeah, but no, I get where Donald and Jason went initially with theirs, and that's poor context clues on my fault. That's bad. That's bad booking on bad wording for the question itself there, for sure. So yeah, no, nice little game, but yeah, I don't. I told Chris or Jay, I'm like, I would have Jordan win the belt.
Yeah, same.
And beat Roxanne.
And then if you need it, I'd ever drop it in a triple threat with Julia.
Okay.
Or somebody else. Yeah.
See, I don't know if you saw, Jason, right after Battleground, there's a TNA event, and they said that Jordan's going to have a open challenge too for the TNA Knockouts title. So I think it's going to go Jordan takes the loss at Battleground, Roxanne takes the loss at against all odds.
And Jay, little homework assignment for you, coming off of Jordynne Grace, but we may potentially get NXT Worlds Collide and have a TNA NXT crossover pay-per-view a la Forbidden Door. So next week, come with what matches would you book if we are getting that pay-per-view?
Okay.
What matchups would you want to see?
We'll pair that with predictions next week.
Yeah, I said it'll be a lot easier for me to pick out women's matches than men's matches right now.
Yeah. The way Battleground's going, that women's division is going to steal the show.
I'm not gonna disagree with you there. Like, and Chris, of course, being Chris and what he does, he already stole my main match for men's division with TNA and NXT crossover. All right. Anything else before we rock out with the quote of the week here and close the show?
I'm good.
All right. Well, my quote of the week this week comes from the new TBS champion, Mercedes Moné. So, Donald, suck it. She got the belt, and she's going to be the greatest TBS champion of all time.
I quote Cody the week he wins the title, and I get shit, but you're going to quote Mercedes now and be fine with it.
That's why I did it. That's why I did it. That's exact. This is the troll job of troll jobs by me. This is exactly why I did it. I had other quotes lined up, and then I saw this one, and I'm like, oh no, I'm definitely doing what Chris did.
Let's hear it.
Especially because she just won the belt too. Like it's an immediate troll. So Mercedes Moné, positive quote of the week to get you set up to Monday morning. You will never miss an opportunity you were born to have.
Oh, I think Steve just froze on that.
No, I'm back. You'll never miss an opportunity you were born to have. And with that being said, I'm a Mark, you're a Mark, tell a Mark. Until next time, y'all can catch us around the way.